You know, Rebels, if you've been checking out some of my promotional ads on social media, you'll be aware that I have been using a lot of AI programs to help me create ads. But you know what? There's a lot more uses for AI than just funny little videos. And I'd like to introduce one of our new sponsors, Podium. It is a leader in creating AI tools for podcasters. Now, let's say you've got a podcast, or maybe you're even thinking of doing a podcast. You're probably wondering, well, how can AI be integrated with your workflow? I'll tell you about Podium. As a podcaster, you know that writing show notes and creating chapters and transcribing episodes takes a lot of time, and it can cost you a lot of money too. But you know what? That's where Podium comes in. It's an AI tool designed specifically for creators and podcasters with the goal of making post-production tasks quick and easy. And in just a few minutes, Podium generates show notes, chapters, summaries, clips for social media, a full transcript, suggested episode titles, social media posts, and more. Whew, that's a lot of work for one little program. Your show notes are key to your podcast's success because it helps new listeners find your podcast and they'll know if it's a fit for them. You know, kind of like Too Many Podcasts. It also improves your SEO, that's your search engine optimization. Ooh, big phrase there. And overall accessibility. And with Podium, you can focus on creating a great podcast and let Podium's AI do the heavy lifting. But Podium isn't just for solo creators and podcasters. It's a game changer for editors, producers, marketers, agencies, and production studios. Teams that use Podiums are able to increase workloads, decrease turnaround times, and improve their quality. How does it work? Very easy. First, go to Podium's website, and you'll see that link that's right there in the show notes. You get 3 hours free just to try it. Pretty cool, huh? And using that link also supports this show as well. And you know what else happens? Because I'm a good guy. You use my link, you will get 50% off for your first month. So visit the site, upload an MP3 file, and download your files, and that's it. And if you need anything else, you can use Podium GPT to generate articles and any marketing copy you might need in seconds. Instant show notes, transcripts, chapters for your podcast or channel. This will level up that podcast. So check out Podium today.
The Sherpa Screening Room is a presentation of the Sherpa's podcast picks. This show is brought to you in cooperation with the SJ Network. If you are interested in appearing on podcasts like this one, or better ones than this, contact Stephen Joyner at s-j-network.com. We now bring you to the Sherpa Chalet, where Jim the podcast Sherpa has finally unlocked himself from the bathroom.
Today's guest on the Sherpa Screening Room is Hunter Nino, who produces, directs, and stars in horror movies by his filmmaking company, The Horror Dads. Just the other night, I was watching a horror movie and was screaming at the main character to not go in the church. My wife asked me from the kitchen what movie I was watching. She wasn't thrilled when I told her it was our wedding video.
Coming to you from Sherpa Chalet in beautiful downtown Mount Podcastia, it's time for entertainment interviews in the Sherpa Screening Room. Grab an aisle seat and a bucket of popcorn, but don't crunch too loud or you'll miss the show. Now, here's your host, Jim, the podcast Sherpa.
Hello there, Rebels of the Sherpa-lution, and welcome to the Sherpa Screening Room. It is a presentation of the Sherpa's podcast picks. We are here in Sherpa-lu Studios in the Sherpa Chalet, high atop Mount Podcastia. And these are the episodes where we get to talk to creators, not podcasters this week, creators. And I got a question for you. How many stories do you know of that involve someone who is in law enforcement, who leaves law enforcement to create horror movies, and a bunch of them get shown on TV, and he gets to work with other dads who appreciate the horror genre also? Well, that just happens to be the story with my guest this week. His name is Hunter Nino, and he is a member of the group, the Horror Dads, and there are a bunch of dads who love horror. And we got to spend a little bit of time, and I get to know what makes him tick and what kind of horror that he's partial to, and some of the projects that this group has created. And not only that, if you remember a while back, I had a guest on Too Many Podcasts, and his name was Graveyard, not his actual name, of course. And actually, Hunter and Graveyard work together. They know each other pretty well. So we got to spend a little bit of time chatting in the Sherpa Screening Room. And right now, you will hear the outcome of that conversation. Hello there, Rebels. We are here in the Sherpa Screening Room. My guest today is Hunter Nino. He is coming to us from Michigan. He is the co-owner of what's called Horror Dads Productions, which, as you can tell by the name, he is involved with making horror movies. He's done all sorts of stuff as a producer, a director, an actor, a writer, and everything else in between. And he's here to fill us in on what's going on with Horror Dads. Matt, Hunter, welcome to the show.
Hey, that's all right. Matt and I are good buddies, so no mix up there. How's it going?
I'm doing very well. The reason why I almost said Matt is that we were just discussing Graveyard, and that's his secret name. We're not supposed to tell anybody.
Yep. He does his.
But Graveyard was on the show, and him and Hunter work together.
We do, correct.
Has it been like a lifelong affair with horror movies for you?
Ever since I was little, I've done them, or I've watched them ever since I was little, and here recently, co-owned and co-founded, I guess, in a way, Horror Dads Productions, which is responsible for tons of projects that are out there streaming on different platforms like Amazon and Tubi and Reveal, and I could go on and on.
So what was the first production that you guys created?
I'm not sure what the first movie that would fall under the Horror Dads banner is. However, the first movie I worked on with Horror Dads was Mothman, directed by Joshua Brucker. We shot that one in Hocking Hills, Ohio.
Were you acting in it, or this was just direction or writing?
So when I originally got started in Horror Dads Productions, I had recently left law enforcement and kind of got back into the whole production side of things and entertainment, kind of where my heart always sat. So a buddy of mine out in Nevada by the name of Dylan Brown, responsible for Tahoe Joe 2, and a few other movies, he was talking to me. I was thinking about making a movie at the time, and he saw a couple posts of mine, and he's like, "Hey man, do you want to get on set somewhere?" And I was like, "Sure." And he goes, "I have a buddy out near you." He goes, "You live in Michigan?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "He's working on a found footage movie called Mothman. I can send you his information." So Josh and I connected up, and I originally just went as a production assistant, just to go out and help, have some fun, kind of get my foot in the door. And everybody ended up liking me so much that the part was written specifically for me that plays after the credits. And then the rest is history there with Horror Dads. Once Horror Dads ended up fully becoming a thing, it started out with Dylan, Josh, and myself. And now we're up to, I think, 6 members: Dylan, Josh, myself, Mike Rock, Dustin Tamplin, and Matt Bodegraven, aka Graveyard.
Do you guys you split up the duties, or do you usually do like the same thing each time, or how does that work with the division of work between you guys?
We kind of do everything. We're all responsible in a way of producing, promoting, writing, directing, occasionally acting. So there's no specified, I guess, roles in Horror Dads. We're all just a group of dads that love horror movies equally, and we make them. Our specialty is found footage.
Could you kind of explain what found footage is to folks who don't know that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Found footage is like, instead of a traditionally shot film that you're probably used to, found footage is like made with an actor holding the camera. Essentially, you're viewing what happens through the events of a character that's written in the movie, recording what's going on around them.
Kind of like Blair Witch Project? Is it sort of like that?
Yeah, some found footage movies would be like Blair Witch, Paranormal Activity, movies like that.
So that is your specialty. Any ones with creepy monsters, or mostly just like a lot of jumping scary killers and stuff like that?
Yeah, so currently Horror Dads Productions for the last few years has been working on what we dub the Cryptidverse, which is just a universe of movies kind of like Marvel, not nowhere near the budget, but kind of showcase cryptids. So we have Mothman and Tahoe Joe, which is a legend out in Nevada, Bigfoot. We have the Woodmen, which are like feral humans, and just a whole other bunch of stuff. We have a serial killer that's kind of part of that. He's not really a cryptid, but he's in the universe. He's appeared in a few movies. We've done Aliens. And I think right now we're working on a couple more cryptids. Nothing I want to, I guess, say yet, but okay. We just have like a whole large interconnected universe of movies. There's got to be at least over 10 now, maybe. I could be wrong about that number, but there's quite a bit.
So do you think you're probably going to do movies where some of the cryptids are going up against each other? That's
been a topic of discussion, actually. And I'm not quite sure where the overall story is going. We've tossed around ideas for at least the last 2 years about it. And so we're kind of trying to get to the point where we can start wrapping the cryptidverse up, I think, within the next 5 to 7-ish movies. But I don't know. That's very interesting. we have pondered that before.
Okay. So growing up, what were your favorite horror movies? Do you remember what the first one that you ever saw?
The first one I actually ever watched was The Exorcist, which I was exposed to, I think, at 4 years old. I'm 28 now, so that's the lasting effect on me. But the one that I thoroughly enjoyed the most as a kid was Halloween growing up. That one was kind of like the one that I could watch and not be too scared. But I mean, man, my favorite horror movie has switched so many times just for different reasons. Like if I had to go like serial killer-ish stuff, I love the Scream franchise, but I actually really love M. Night Shyamalan's new movie, Trap. One of my favorite, I guess, paranormal movies ever, paranormal in a way, I'll do little air quotes right here, is Devil by M. Night. Well, he produced it, but I really like that movie, and a lot of people don't like that movie. So it just kind of depends on my mood, what I like. My favorite of all time, though, classic John Carpenter movie, The Thing. I love that movie. Definitely my favorite.
All right. I like that. So if you were to have like any of these actors in a movie, would you have like anyone who would like, say you just had like the pick of the litter for somebody to be a lead in one of your movies?
Okay. A lot of people might judge me for this one, but I've always wanted to work with Gary Busey.
Okay.
I don't know why. I've just always wanted to work with Gary Busey. I loved him in Silver Bullet as Uncle Red. And I don't know. I just think he's a pretty like out there character guy in real life. Unfortunately, probably due to the motorcycle accident he experienced, but a little controversial, but I like Gary Busey, man. I would love to get to work with Gary.
Well, that you would at least end up with an interesting product at the end. So I don't blame you.
100%.
So how do people like access your movie? They're all like you said, they're all different streaming platforms.
Yeah, people can find our movies on like Amazon. If you type in Horror Dads, it should pop up. If it doesn't pop up, they can search. I'm trying to think of which ones are currently on Amazon. I know Midnight Features, a TV show that Dustin Tamplin just did. That's on Amazon currently. The Woodman was on Amazon for a long time. I'm not sure what else is currently sitting on Amazon, but a lot of our stuff can be found on Tubi. And here in a few weeks, I think a new found footage horror app is coming out, solely dedicated to found footage horror, called Found. So I know like almost every single one of our projects is listed on there. Other than that, you have apps like POV Horror and Fossum, and just stuff like that. I'm trying to think. There's so many different players out there for us, and it's just hard to recall it all.
Okay. Well, you said that you wanted to talk about your most recent project. I know it came out a little while ago, is that right?
Oh yeah, I had a movie that I directed late last year that came out sometime earlier this year, probably about 4 to 6 months ago, roughly. It's one I directed and largely had an idea for. It consists of 5 directors, so it's a found footage anthology movie. An anthology is just different stories, but we interconnect the stories. Okay. It's called Urban Nightmares, just a found footage horror movie, found footage anthology. The 5 directors are myself, Dustin Tamplin, Jason Ely, Michael Rock, and Connor Flynn. I'm responsible for what we call the wraparound segment. So it's kind of like the story that interludes all the other stories together. It's about a group of YouTubers. So kind of YouTuber personalities. We all played ourselves in a way, just like a very outlandish version of ourselves. So the movie consists of us filming our special 100th episode to a YouTube series called Urban Nightmares, in which case viewers send us videos, we watch them, and then we kind of discuss amongst ourselves if we think they're real or fake. But for our special 100th, we go out into the woods where a local legend known as the Clawhammer Killer resides, supposedly, more air quotes. And things do take a turn for the worse once we watch the other 4 films. And so that one's pretty cool. Bloody Mary's in there. A siren, like old Greek mythology siren, is part of the stories. A demonic entity, Goat Man, and then trying to think, what was the other one? And then the Clawhammer Killer. Did I hit them all? I think I hit them all.
Okay. Yeah, but that definitely sounds like an interesting way to do a found footage kind of movie where it's not just the one perspective, but as you said, 5 different ones, and there is obviously a common thread that runs through them. Oh,
absolutely. Everybody had a blast doing it. And it was made for probably $50. I'm not even going to lie. Like everybody just kind of donated their own time and money. There was no set budget. I'll be honest, we were in between projects and I was bored. And I messaged a few people that I know are reliable in getting things done. And I was like, hey, you guys interested in doing this? And, the other 4 directors are like, yeah, we'll give it a shot. And so that's kind of how the movie came together. I think we spent $50 one time for a park permit. So yeah, to shoot at a park at nighttime. So
I guess with that style of movie too, I guess if it comes off as kind of raw, as opposed to, everything is all elaborate, it probably loses a little bit of the authenticity, where like the scare probably comes a little better as well. So it's not like there's a big setup. It's just like a reaction to something that happens in it.
Oh yeah, honestly, almost all of our movies are entirely improv. I don't know what the other guys in our production company call it, but I call it ghostwriting or ghost scripting. Basically, we take the bare minimum of a script, point A, B, and C to get to the end. And we just say, this is where we want it to start. This is where we want it to go. And this is what our wrap up is. And almost every single actor that we have in almost every single movie we've done in some capacity has improv their lines and what they do and what they interact to. So it does feel very real and raw sometimes, and it's not made for hundreds of millions of dollars or even, thousands and thousands of dollars. So there is a lot of authenticity to the films. It does sometimes feel like an amateur going out in the woods or into a haunted house filming something, and then bad things happen. And they're capturing it on camera for the world to see. It can play off like that.
Yeah.
But like everything, it has its cheesy moments. So
you have to have a little cheese in the horror, right?
Absolutely.
So you said before you were involved in horror dads, you were a police officer? You were in law enforcement?
Yeah, that's correct. For a little over 3 years.
Were you like highway patrol? Did any of those stories?
No, I was just a city police officer. When I graduated high school, I went to college for 4 years. Okay. I double majored. I didn't end up getting a second major. I got a minor, but I got a major in criminal justice and a minor in behavioral science. Graduated college in 2019. Went immediately into the police academy. Worked at one city for about 2 years and a month, give or take, and then transferred to another city. Worked for another year and decided, hey, it wasn't for me anymore. My heart didn't lie with it. My heart lied into getting back into production and stuff. When I was in high school, I took what's known as a career technical class, video and audio production. And I always wanted to be an actor and do something to do with a movie production. I've always been a guy that loves to be in front of a camera. And so after several years, I decided I wanted to get back into it. So now I do it full time, not through Horror Dads, but I teach the same class I took in high school. Now it's digital media production. I'm one of the teachers in that room. And so I get to do it full time, luckily, and fortunately, and, work on the production company. So I'm very blessed and fortunate to be able to do what it is I do.
When you're teaching your class, what's some of the best pointers that you give your students?
Really learning the rules of how to use a camera, shooting traditionally. It's harder in my class to do found footage. I do teach at the high school level. There are some college level kids, but the problem is we're still, abiding by high school rules. So we can't show blood, guts, and gore and stuff like that. So largely it's teaching traditional styles of filmmaking, what you would see in a regular TV show or movie. So the most important thing I stress for our kids is to know the rules of filmmaking, like the 180-degree rule and the rule of thirds, your line of action and your exposure triangle and stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember I was interviewing another guest and they were talking about just the importance of even the camera lens, how that creates a very specific effect when you make a movie.
Absolutely. That's one of the first things they learn. We actually start off in our photography unit long before we get to the videography unit to really get the individuals in the class used to cameras and what cameras are doing. So we go over the anatomy of a camera and what lenses do and what the numbers on the lenses mean and what, just kind of like the effects and everything that a lens will do, which is hilarious because then you watch our found footage movies and we violate all those rules, which you're supposed to. But eventually I do want to do a traditional movie and do something that's not found footage. Those just take a lot more time. That's why we've found a good formula to be able to pump out 3, 4, 5 movies a year sometimes for our company. Versus, if we did a traditional movie, we might do one movie that took several months. Whereas right now we have that formula where we can get multiple movies maybe done in just 1 to 3 months, just depending on how fast we're working with the members we have.
And I was curious when you were talking about, your career as a police officer. I was curious if any of your movie ideas maybe reflected something like where there was a police officer in it who wasn't exactly quite who he seemed to be.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I've written anything like that. I do have a short film that I actually titled 911 that I directed. That's not necessarily inspired by like something that happened, but I've taken elements and ideas of things like maybe I've seen and thrown it in there. And there is a movie eventually I'll do. It's kind of like the start, I guess, of our cryptid verse. We just haven't gotten around to it yet. It's going to be a pretty big movie and pretty big production value movie. Mm-hmm. So we just want to secure the fundings before we attempt that. But it's going to largely just have to do with a lot of police officers at one time. So there are elements inspired by things, but I wouldn't say like anything that was like 100% like, oh, this happened. No, it's just more like the loosely based true story stuff kind of thing. Or, maybe something that I'm like, wow, that'd be a good idea for a movie, obviously without exposing any information that shouldn't ever be exposed.
I mean, it would also kind of be a good framework for a movie too. Like if you had like, and just say for argument's sake, like an older policeman said, I remember 20 years ago, and it was on a dark night like this, and couldn't believe my eyes, and just kind of leading into the cryptids or whatever it may be.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely some inspiration and story ideas can be driven from drawing from, I guess, reality and what, an individual experiences. A few of our people, Dylan Brown, he works for the military, and Michael Rock works for the Department of Homeland Security, and I'm former law enforcement. Michael Rock was former military as well. So we have a lot of members in Horror Dads that have done something serving their country in some capacity. Right. And Michael and Dylan out over in Nevada, they often work with ex law enforcement and former veterans to kind of help them out. So a lot of their movies bring in multiple actors of wide multitude of skill areas. So it's kind of cool. They have their little thing that they do out there. We call them the West Coast Horror Dads. And we're over here, Joshua, Matt, and myself are what we dub the East Coast Horror Dads.
but this is an East Coast and a West Coast that are infusing this time. You guys are pulling it all together.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, which did you say out of the movies that you've helped create, what would you say is your favorite one?
I don't know. There's something that I've taken from every movie we've done. Mm-hmm. That's a hard answer. I like something about every movie that we've done in a way. Probably one of my favorites that we did was Split Screen. It's two movies in one. The first one is The Greys, a Nevada alien incident. I could have gotten that title wrong. I'm just used to calling it The Greys because we dub our own things short. And the second one is about a serial killer where I play the serial killer. That one's really cool because we consider it the first of its kind, the first found footage double feature. Now there's been anthologies before of multiple things, but there's never been a double feature as far as that I'm concerned. I could be wrong about that, but I think we looked, and so that one's really special because I love aliens, and the first part of that's about aliens, and the second part of that's about a serial killer. So I mean that one's probably one of my favorites, just because it's like in a way, like I said, the first of its kind.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting combination.
Yeah. A lot of people don't expect it. And kind of gives something to every viewer, Mm-hmm. The anime one is a lot more, I think, fast paced, whereas the serial killer one has its moments of kind of lore building and really trying to nail in the sense of dread. So it's a much slower pace. So I think everything that a viewer would experience watching that movie, they'll like something about it.
Right. So if people want to find out more about Horror Dads Productions, where can they look online to see anything?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Horror Dads Productions is on Facebook. You can follow any of our personal Facebook pages. People do all the time. Okay. People follow our own personal Instagram pages as well. But Horror Dads Productions has a Facebook and an Instagram and a TikTok. None of them are ever really kept up on us. It's more so our personal stuff that we use. But if anybody wanted to find out more about it, you can just Google it as well. And a lot of our movies will pop up too. But please feel free to follow our social medias. My name is Hunter Nino, Joshua Brucker, Dylan Brown, Michael Rock, Dustin Tamplin, Matt Van Bogue Raven. All of us love to chat with people. And we post a lot of our ideas and stuff that we've done just all over horror Facebook pages as well, that aren't ours, that allow us to promote. You can follow those pages too, like found footage movie groups and stuff like that. Yeah. We're on Discord as well.
Yeah, that's really great when you have that great social media presence, and there are other people that are willing to promote your work as well. So,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
I wish we had more of a presence on the horror dads ourselves, but like I said, we kind of more so just post on our personal stuff instead of through the actual horror dads page. But that's all right. We still have our followers,
Yeah. Yeah, as long as you're getting that information out there. And is there a website or just the social media stuff?
Yeah, no, we do have a website as well. It's a WordPress website. Just horrordads.com, I think, would take you to it. I could be wrong. It's a WordPress, so sometimes it gives kind of a weird IRL. But let me see if I can pull it up real quick on my phone here.
Okay.
Exact thing. It should be just. Let me see here. I have a link tree as well. If you follow my personal page, it'll take you to a lot of our movies too. Not every project we've done. I've been involved in at least in some capacity over 54 different titles. Let's see. Apparently I don't get service out here. Okay. Trying for the people listening to this. This is audio, correct?
Yeah.
Let me see.
We should insert some spooky music in here or something like that.
Yeah,
but it has this dark. It looks like a dark window behind you. I'm waiting for something to crawl in that window. While you're talking.
Yeah. I'm currently sitting in my garage. I'm redoing my garage, and this is a quiet place right now. I have 2 children. Yeah, go to horrordadsproductions.wordpress.com or just type in Horror Dads Productions in Google. That should be the first thing that pops up, and that's a website that has, I want to say, most of our movies that we've done. The Forge Creek Recordings is an upcoming movie. The Fairfield County 4 is an upcoming movie. The Ruck March is an upcoming movie. Untitled Footage just wrapped. The Murder of the Monsters released. The Summer We Died is an upcoming movie. Midnight Features, a TV series that we just did that's released. Tahoe Joe 2, Urban Nightmares, Split Screen, Lights Over Montgomery County, The Woodman, Ghost, and more. I mean, almost it looks like every single one of our movies and shorts are listed here, as well as if you scroll all the way down a map. I can show you. Our viewers can't see this, but a map of where a lot of our movies take place over the United States. I know it's reversed, but
okay.
Pretty cool. Yeah, it's a cool little website. So just google.com, horrordadsproductions.wordpress.com.
Okay. His name is Hunter Nino. Again, one of the co-owners of Horror Dads Productions. He's got a lot of stuff going on, Rebels. So you might want to check out one of these movies, especially if you want to get a little spooky. Hunter, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Of course. It was great being here.
Be a rebel. Follow the show at Sherpa-lution on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Thanks so much to Hunter Nino for coming by the Sherpa Screening Room, and thank you so much for listening. And if you like the show, you know what you can do. Just subscribe to us on whatever your favorite podcast app is, or you can even listen on the Sherpa-lution YouTube page. There is no video. You are so welcome. If you've got any questions, or if you want to talk about some podcasts that you're listening to that you need me to check out as well, when I get to do the Sherpa's podcast picks, I will mention your name and I will talk about the show that you've recommended. It's got to be a show that we haven't talked about yet, and I've talked about a lot. Even if you don't have one to recommend, make sure you swing by and listen, and have a listen to these episodes as well. Got a whole bunch of neat people coming on. Neat? Yeah, they're very neat. I don't know. They're very clean too. Their studio is very well maintained. I don't know. We've got some great people on this season. Please make sure you swing by and have a listen, and let your friends know and spread the word about the Sherpa-lution. So until then, Lord Mr. Bruce and I will head on out of here, and I will say to you, Viva la Sherpa-lution.
Thanks for listening to the Sherpa Screening Room. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, and share this podcast. I'm Mr. Bruce, and this has been a Sherpa-lu Studios production. Viva la Sherpa-lution!